Will we put out an opinion poll?
Activist is seen as a very negative thing. The dubious distinction of perhaps the first flyover in the world which had a traffic signal. They realized after they built the flyover that flyover ke upar traffic signal.
Usually we see in Instagram, whenever I see these, oh, I love Bangalore, and they all, put only Malleshwaram, Jayanagar streets. I'll be like, bro, I stay in the other part. That's also a reality.
There's no performance appraisal. I'm from corporate, so I'm saying, if I could say quote unquote, lots of jumlas going around, propaganda, lies.
It's not just people, but the high courts have noted it in their judgments that they passed, pulling up the government for not doing the basic fundamental duties that they're supposed to do.
Democracy means people say Praja Prabhutva. That means, the citizens are the, leaders, or, they are supreme. But democracy also means Praja Tantra, means we have to do the strategy.
It's not just anti-BJP. It's anti-anybody who's trying to break down the constitution and break down democratic principles.
One of the most interesting things about Bangalore is that there are many active citizens groups in this city fighting for a lot of things. You almost every other day you have headlines that tell you about various citizens groups or activist groups either rallying around saving a lake or trees or taking on the builder mafia or even asking citizens to honk or not honk, be polite in your honking. So there's a lot of activism in the air in Bangalore, and I think it'd be very interesting to speak some of the citizens groups here, citizens who've come together, who work on different causes. And I have with me a little pamphlet, which how many organizations have released it together?
Almost every active citizens group.
But if you were to give me a number?
Right now we don't have any numbers as such, exact numbers. We're just busy preparing to reach this out to as many people as such. We're not tracking any metrics. Maybe we can give you numbers once the campaign is over.
But approximately, like how many people would have been behind this?
10 to 15, I think. Right?
Easily.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 to 15.
So this is a little pamphlet that they've come up with, which is basically to tell people to vote wisely, and it has basic headlines that on the current government, and they tell you that basically you should be thinking about these things. Stuff like Karnataka saw Nandini ghee prices gone up rupees 180 per litre in 2.5 months. The Karnataka syllabus books of private schools are 25% costlier. So I'm just going to chat with you guys, and I just want to get a sense of activism in Bangalore. Why is this city which has so many groups that come together and rally on causes? What's so special? What gets everyone going?
I'm Vinay Kumar. I'm an aerospace engineer, and I call myself an active citizen because activist is seen as a very negative thing. I don't care about that, but I believe in our constitution, and it's my responsibility as a active citizen to do my bit to work towards upholding constitutional values.
I am Pooja Yeshodhare. Yeshodha is my mother's name, so I'm Pooja Yeshodhare. And my day job earlier was, I was pursuing CA. But then now I am so much inspired by the current government that I want to fully get into activism, and then now I am working on a fellowship that works on youth participation in democracy.
Hi, I'm Venkat. I'm a banker from risk management, data science. About 2.5 years ago, I think a little more than that, 3.5 years ago, when CA came up, it looked like as a society we're not responding, and it was left out to the Muslims to go and oppose it. It seemed very wrong, and I think that was one time I thought I should get politically engaged, not just read it in books and newspaper.
What is so special about Bangalore? Why is it so conducive to having to so many citizens groups? What do you think is the reason why we have so many people here actively engaging with city issues?
When there are things like trees being cut or a flyover that's a monstrosity of concrete, which is usually is from nowhere to nowhere, and we have the dubious distinction of perhaps the first flyover in the world which had a traffic signal. They realized after they built the flyover that flyover ke upar traffic signal laga, right? And they changed the reverse direction of traffic finally on the flyover.
Essentially, love for your city and wanting to preserve it, wanting to.
And also gradually what has happened post 2019, I think it started in 2014, but we have not. The realization didn't occur to me till 2019, when all my schoolmates, most of them, kind of deserted me because I didn't express my love for the government, where they thought that everybody has a duty to express love to the government, the manner in which they see. So that was when I think the fault lines started appearing in 2014, but 2019 was a watershed moment, but where a lot of people, a lot of friendships, a lot of decade-old friendships broke apart because of politics. And that really got me out on the streets, and then the CAA moment happened, and the momentum picked up. I would say another important moment in the history of Bangalore is the Steel Flyover campaign, where a lot of people, the so-called the sleepy IT crowd or inactive IT crowd that a lot of people think they are, kind of broke that stereotype and came out on the streets for the first time. Thousands of people made kilometers of long human chain to save the trees that were being cut. Thousands of trees were being cut for a flyover, which was not needed. So I think that created a lot of active citizens, and that again, the political scenario helped in keeping these people together.
Okay. What about you? Why did you what was that? You said that basically after your love for the government is what made you realize you want to do full-time activism. But is there any one particular movement or cause that's really close to you, that you really work on?
Yeah. So I come from a different background from both of them, because so I do not come from a a well-established family background or not. So basically, maybe if I'm talking in Newslaundry today, I'm probably representing all the women and all the people who are who are probably staying in slum-like areas in Bangalore. So there is also other part of Bangalore. Usually we see in Instagram, whenever I see these, oh, I love Bangalore, and they all, put only Malleshwaram, Jainagar streets. I'll be like, bro, I stay in the other part. That's also a reality. I mean, I love my place, but also if we are blind, then probably will not work on other issues. So
what's close to your heart in terms of a cause that you've been working on, or something that
feminism.
Okay.
So that's one thing that I was a very pro BJP, very orthodox person, maybe till 2018, 2019. But then I think things changed when when I think hijab issue, it was ongoing, and also there were a couple of I got to know more about how in the name of tradition, I mean just the word is being used to actually put down the dignity of women.
What are the core election issues for you?
I think the core election issue is that we are not talking about development, and there's no performance appraisal. I'm from corporate, so I'm saying that look, I mean, when a manager comes and says, look, what have you done the whole year? Can you let me know? We sometimes do self-appraisal. But surely parties are not good at that. But they've spent 4 or 5 years, but no one is really talking about what they've done, what they want to do. All is, if I could say, quote unquote, lots of jumlas going around, propaganda, lies. How do individuals or people go back and just review themselves? Because here the voter is the manager and they are the public servant, and we have to review it. And that's what we are trying to go back and say, go back and look all the incidents. There are many incidents we have forgotten. COVID, issues of how migrants were treated in the railway station. Some of us were witness of it, the oxygen case, and all that issues of communal disharmony which was happening in the coastal belt, including hijab. I know at least 10 odd girls who left their house without knowing whether they can give the exam, and many of them returned not being able to give exam. That's really tragic. I know 10 of them through my friends, right? So what we are trying to do here is just like any manager reviews, we are asking civilians, go back and review what the government has done.
What about you? Important election issues. And as an activist, what would you like to bring to people's attention?
See, corruption has been the talk of late. Everybody is talking corruption, and what is unique, I think, this time, especially in Karnataka, is if you look at the recent history, corruption has rarely been number one issue. And Karnataka is historically known to, there's this anti-incumbency wave has existed historically. So we vote differently from the rest of the country. We don't mind having a different party at the center and different party here. Many felt for the longest of time people thought that's a good bargaining power. But over time, I think one party built a narrative that, if you have the same party in both the center and the state, we are going to do miracles. But that has failed miserably, and people understand it clearly that that doesn't work. And
Corruption is one big issue.
corruption is one big issue, and like Venkat mentioned, I think we have already forgotten that COVID was mismanaged, and it's not just people, but the high courts have noted it in their judgments that they passed, pulling up the government for not doing the basic fundamental duties that they're supposed to do. So that is proof, but unfortunately I think public memory is short, and what we're trying to do with this campaign called Vote Wisely is to refresh people's memory, to pull up news articles from the last 5 years and say, use these credible sources, don't fall for propaganda. And we also have noticed that no incumbent government really talks about their shortcomings. They always amplify their achievements, and you only hear of the achievements from the government. But who is supposed to talk about the shortcomings? The media doesn't seem to be doing. So that's where I think we are urging more citizens to talk about these issues. Of course, primary right now is corruption, price rise. But price rise is tricky because there's a central government also involved in a component that goes into prices. But locally, we have seen the government's policies have led to severe price rise in, for example, the Nandini ghee. Milk, strategically, I think the government realized that price rise is a issue, and so they withdrew the hike of milk. But in a roundabout way, they allowed ghee prices to go up by almost 200 rupees in 2 months. Right?
Important election issues for you.
Not only for me, I think for entire Karnataka, it's about Karnataka's asmite, we say. That means, as Kannadigas and Kannadatis, it's our identity. And that's being, taken away, or it's at risk now. So
Why do you think it's at risk? Because, who's putting it at risk?
So, and of course, the current government, like this whole thing about one nation, one language, all these things, it just irritates us.
Now, when you talk about activists, one is that activism, we started off with that, it's become a bad word. People look at them as troublemakers. People look at them as, pesky people who are anti-development. So do you get that a lot from your friends, and what do you feel about that kind of a narrative? And actually, you can take both the questions. And the second thing is, the other accusation against activists is they live in their bubble, that they're talking in their echo chambers, they're not reaching out to the other side. They believe in something and that's it, and so their activism doesn't have much impact. So how do you guys see both these things? How do you want to tackle it?
Yeah, I think there is. When you say to someone you're an activist, they do get a strange feeling. I'm happy that my immediate family doesn't.
And then you quickly say I'm a banker also.
I'm a banker too, so I have to quickly say that. I do data science and I can review your son's resume. So then they don't leave me around. So something of that sort. But they do say it. And for example, I've been working on, we as a family have been working a lot with the Muslims, and we're doing iftar. So I have got somebody calling me up and saying, have you converted yourself into a Muslim? Just because I'm giving an iftar should not give this opinion. Right? So people do get strange ones, but I think it's more important, I would call out, that have good friends. Some of them are right here. Have good friends whom you can call when you think you are sulking or you are thinking that this is not worth it. But I think there is a good camaraderie within the Bangalore activism circle. There are other things to talk about, but surely that helps. But yeah, people do think like it's a bit strange to be an activist after being a banker.
What about you? Echo chambers and just being an activist, sometimes you get like people looking at you strangely, or do they say कि तुम PFI से पैसा तो नहीं आ रहा, तुम्हारा George Soros तो तुम्हें नहीं.
Yeah, those
Toolkit gang and all that.
Yeah, those, ever since the toolkit became a thing. So obviously people associate anybody who's active and resisting something that's going wrong, and they try to paint you. That's the easiest defense. But I feel that activism is not troublemaking. It's a slightly deeper interest and in the constitution, and deeper interest in the history of this country. This country was born out of civil disobedience. We taught the world how to use non-violence to get our way, and work within frameworks of peace and non-violence and bring people together. And I think we've forgotten that. So for the longest part of time, even me, I thought Independence Day alag hai, Republic Day alag hai. So the deeper I read the Constitution, I realized Constitution is a baby of the freedom struggle, and which went on for hundreds of years. And that spirit of the freedom struggle is captured in the Constitution. And now, when you say echo chambers, we have differences of opinion, right? But what brings us together is the Constitution. All of us subscribe to constitutional value. We believe in the Constitution. We believe in engaging with the Constitution, and that is where people leave their differences at home, come together, and want to build a better society. Ultimately, we want to be happy. We want to be a happy people, and we don't want to be spending our time, protesting, and nobody likes it. I want to enjoy my music and do my science, and then make merry with friends. I'm sure most people want to do that. But now what activism once does to you is you feel
You can't keep quiet.
you can't keep quiet. That's one thing. And you also want to try and attempt to build a happy society for those who don't have the privileges to do this. And it makes you aware of your privileges, and I think that is where you are able to let go of any other differences that you have.
Yes. And what do you think about this whole activists are dangerous, or they are detrimental to our society, they are, they're anti-development and all that?
So, I think historically we have seen that, but Karnataka has been a state that is, we usually, we accommodate people, we accommodate things for a longer time, but that does not make us fools. Okay, so I think it is there. Like personally, I've literally blocked some people who are from true right wing, and then putting when they see me on Instagram and Facebook, I'm very active, and I get a lot of comments. If I read the comments, I have to I really stay away from comments. I choose to respond, and I choose not to respond sometimes. For me, disagreement is okay, and I respect everybody's belief, because I was that person one point of time. So I really resonate with the other person as far as they are respectful. Okay. So I do reply to hate comment. Hate comments as in
disagreements, as long as they are civil, but not to trolling or calling you names and stuff like that. Great. So when you guys are working in a group, do you often have, for civic issues, people from different parties come together, different walks of life come together, or is it primarily like an anti-BJP grouping?
No, not at all. Not anti-BJP at all. See, we've had a history of Congress doing stupid things. JDS has done stupid things. So today it is the BJP literally setting fire to society and trying to break the fabric of society. So other governments, other parties in the past have done things, but at different scales, right? To the best of their abilities to, obviously, make money as well. So we are very aware of that. It is, at least for me, it's not just anti-BJP. It's anti anybody who is trying to break down the Constitution and break down democratic principles and try to, subvert democracy as such. So I don't necessarily, today it is BJP, tomorrow if Congress comes to power, we want to hold them responsible, hold them accountable. It is just trying to assert our role as citizens in this society, and I just want to reinforce that our role as citizen is not just going to vote one day, once in 5 years. It doesn't stop there. I think every day we can do our bit to be active and try our bit, and especially in this day when the media has failed, the so-called pillar, another fourth pillar, has failed miserably in doing a performance analysis. Why should I be doing a performance analysis of the government? I'd rather do something else, right? You would expect ordinarily the media to do this and say, hey, this is how the government has performed. No government is going to say we did bad things. They'll obviously try to polish everything and say we did only good things, right? So that is where I feel that now it's upon us, and now we have the tools of technology, if used well. Like we can do our own study, own analysis, and then vote wisely.
It's a very interesting point he makes that it's traditionally the job of the media that holds power to account, and they are the ones who are supposed to be telling you how your governments what their performance was, so that you can go and make an informed choice when you vote, because democracy is not just about holding free and fair elections, it is about that also, but it's also about making reasoned choices, having the ability and access to good, credible, truthful information for you to pass through to make those choices. And I think that's where the mainstream media, at least not the newspapers, but some of the loudest voices at least, are failing us.
The subscription model is something that keeps News Laundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.